What do we need? Have we got enough chairs? We good? Okay. Let's just begin with a quick word of prayer, shall we? O Lord, most holy Father in heaven, thank you for once again giving us an opportunity to just get together and share some new ideas, some new things, and just contemplate some meaning, some purpose of why we're here. And Lord, I just ask that you would give us your Spirit, give us an imagination, and to just find some fun and some joy in learning some new things in life. In Jesus' name, amen. So, welcome. Glad to see you all here. My name is Robert Norris. I've been going to church here since I was 10 years old. It actually wasn't in this building. So I want to start off with the question, why did you come? I mean, why would we want to learn about stuff like this? It's what? What happened in Texas? Does anybody remember 2020? Just in the last year, I mean, just the craziness, right? But not only the craziness, how many of you have ever broken down alongside the road? Okay, some of you have. How many of you have, like I remember going over White Pass, and you get to Packwood and they close the pass. You ever had that happen to you? Have roads being closed on you?
Got in Ellensburg, they closed it. I had to come over the White Pass to go.
Okay.
And I was the last car that was allowed through.
You know, so we live in a world that is ever increasingly unpredictable. And so what I kind of want to look at is just look at maybe some tools, give you something to think about. I don't want to make this foreboding or too intense, but just want to give you some ideas, and we'll go from there. So I want to look at this from several different scenarios, though. So if you're at home, you're comfortable, you have all your stuff around you, your home is kind of your castle. Why would you need this kind of stuff? Why would you need a pack? If you're at home, you got all your things there, you have your refrigerator and all that. So from the standpoint of you're at home, everything's fine. Why would you want to leave home? An earthquake. Why would you want to leave home in an earthquake?
After the earthquake.
Okay, after. You might not have a home. Okay. Anybody else? Fire. Fire's a big one. How many of you remember, was it 2020? Or was it 2019? That we had all the fires. How many of you remember not being able to see across this valley? Wasn't that weird? 2020. Yes, it was in the fall. And it just stayed for weeks. I mean, that was just strange. But the fires, they move so fast. An earthquake, it might turn your house over, it might collapse your house, but you still have more stuff at that spot that is there. So not necessarily just right off the bat with an earthquake. But yes, there are scenarios, and we need to start kind of thinking this through. What are the conditions in which we would leave home? Flooding. It really boils down to imminent danger. If you stay here, fire is a big one. If there's wildfire coming, you just need to go and go really fast. How about if you're at work or if you're at school? What are some dangers that are problematic where you work and where you go to school? Maybe if you're a student. 10th floor. What problems? Yeah, earthquake. So earthquake. You'd want to at least get out of the building, right? So what about just being on the road? I don't know if some of you remember a couple of years ago, there was a landslide on I-5 northbound down by, where was it? South of Kalama. Woodland. And I was in Oregon heading home, heard about the road being closed, so I decided, okay, I'm going to go over Cornelius Pass and get on Highway 30 up to Rainier. And I did that. It's all clear for about 5 miles. And then it just came to a solid standstill because everybody else on I-5 moved over to Highway 30. And I spent a 2.5-hour trip to home. Took me 7 hours. Now, if that had been induced, if the landslide had been induced, let's say, by an earthquake, and Highway 30 was out, I'd be stuck on the road. So I've got to think about, because I do travel quite a bit, I need to be in a position where no matter where I'm at, home, work, in my vehicle, I want to not only be ready to take care of needs I might have, but I want to take the burden off of the system by being able to help other people. Does that make sense? So I'm not just kind of looking out for my own skin, I'm looking out for those around me. I want to be a help, and I don't want to be a burden to the system. And not only that, learning about gear, learning about different options, different ideas, different scenarios, it also gives you more options. The more options you have, the more ways you know how to do things, the better off you'll be. And I've got this book, and the book alone, it's your basic survival book. But for me, the title is most of the information this book contains. And the title of the book is 6 Ways In and 12 Ways Out. Now, there's a lot of theory or a lot of thought that goes into that title. If there's 6 ways in, 12 ways out, what does that strike you? What is that saying? What was that? Options. There's many ways to do things, and there's many ways to undo things. And I like that idea of being able to make, for instance, making fire 52 different ways. I will probably be showing, I've got a video called 40 Ways to Make Fire. And for one of these classes, maybe we'll show that video. When you're done with that, your mind is just going around in circles, and everywhere you look, it's like, I could make fire from that over there. It's like, ooh, that thing there, I could make fire out of that. I was at a friend's house one time after, I had this video for a while. I was sitting in their kitchen. Jeannie was visiting with them in the other room, and I looked up, and I noticed the knobs for the cabinets were these old kind of 40s styled round knobs that were dish-shaped, and they were chrome-plated. And I saw that, and I thought, I could make fire from those knobs. So really quickly, I jumped up and I unscrewed one. I ran outside. It was a sunny day. I found some grass, made some tinder, and held it right in front of that knob, pointed at the sun. It only took like 30 seconds to get a coal. Blow it. Yes, I've got a coal. With a coal, I can make fire. Put it down, put it out, run back in the house, screw the knob back on. 30-second lesson. It's like, okay, I know what I can do with the knob. And the more you practice and do these things, just options just open up, and you start realizing there are so many ways of doing things. And I like that mentality. I'm going to be talking a lot about gear, a lot about packs and this kind of thing, but to be truthful, in my personal training, I'm training how to do whatever I need. I train survival. I do a lot of survival classes type things. But my own personal training, I train to do survival with no gear at all. Absolutely nothing. Because if I can make shelter, if I can make fire, if I can find my food and purify my water with nothing but what you find out in the woods, then a pocket knife all of a sudden makes life really easy. You see what I'm saying? A lighter. If I've got a lighter, it's like, oh, I don't have to rub sticks together now, which I can do. I can do the stick fire thing many different ways. But if you've got a lighter, it just makes life Cadillac living. Whereas somebody who doesn't have that bank of knowledge is going to think, all I got is a knife and a lighter. I'm going to die. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, no, no, no. Practice so that you can do what you need to do with nothing. And then having like one of these, doesn't matter. You know, let the hurricane come, whatever. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but I hope you get my point. Another thing I want to talk about, and that is this rule of threes sort of thing. We want to kind of establish some priorities as to how we're going to start thinking about putting a pack together. Now, obviously, I can't get all of these on my back, right? But over the years, I've kind of traded and picked up packs here and there. And because I teach this, I got to have all of them, right? But this rule of threes, this will help us really kind of get a picture of why we pack what we do. How do we make that list up? And that is, if I can write this out, 3 I'm bad spelling when I stand up. 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. Now again, this is not a hard, cold, fast rule, but it teaches us about priorities. You can survive, on average, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without protection from the environment, 3 days without, guess, what would somebody? Water. 3 weeks without food. The average American is packing around plenty of food with them. So think about this. 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without some sort of shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. What was that?
If I'm sleeping.
So we really usually don't talk about this one much, 3 minutes without air, because when is this a concern, running out of air? Where? If you're in and around water. I mean, that's really the only time this one really applies. So we kind of checked that off. What about what?
About fire. Where you're not getting oxygen from fire.
If you're in a situation where you're not getting oxygen from fire, you've got a lot of other problems as well. This is the big one, because if you get stuck or slid off the road in your car in the middle of the night on Snoqualmie Pass, and you have no way of maintaining what we call homeostasis, your core body temperature, in very short order, you're going to start getting hypothermic. Now, what is the major, how do I say this? What's the most important asset that goes first when you start getting hypothermia? Your mind, your thinking. Matter of fact, how about being in the desert? It's 105 degrees. Your car breaks down. There's nobody around. When you start getting hyperthermia, too much heat exhaustion, what's the first thing to go? Your mind, your ability to rationally think. 3 days without water, what effects start showing up? Your thinking. It almost always comes down to, well, you're 3 minutes without air. What's being affected? It's your mind again, right? Your most valuable asset is your capacity to think in a crisis. And if you have anything, it's your ability to think, and that's the first thing that is targeted in a disaster scenario or a crisis. If you can't establish some sort of shelter to protect yourself in that car that's gone off the road, you're going to start making poor decisions. You're going to start getting hypothermic, and you might have a 32-degree body temperature in the morning. That wouldn't be too good. So if we were thinking about tools that we could pack, or something in the way of things we could put together as a tool, let's say, what kind of tool would we pack, for instance, with the whole 3 minutes without air idea? Again, this mostly applies to where? In and around water. What would be a good tool to have in and around water that would help you not run out of air? A what? A life jacket. Welcome. Does that make sense? Having a life jacket. It's gonna help you stay in a position where you're not going to run out of air. So again, we're not going to talk too much about that. How about this one, shelter? What constitutes shelter? What? A tarp, okay, very good. A tarp. What else? Clothes.
Huge garbage bag.
Okay.
Emergency blanket.
Emergency blanket.
Huge garbage bag.
Garbage bag. What are you going to do with the garbage? Get inside your bag? Yeah, you could do that. Big garbage bags make really nice ponchos. You just tear out the corner, put it around your face. What else? What else would constitute shelter?
This silver aluminum blanket. Oh,
Emergency blanket. It's kind of the Mylar-y, shiny, crinkly thing. I've got one in here somewhere.
but they don't go in your car. Are you talking man-made or are you talking about?
I'm talking about anything.
Like trees. Like
Your car.
branches.
Yeah.
Yeah, tree branches.
Okay.
Brushes, rock, a whole bunch of stuff. It's all natural.
Sleeping bag. How about this one? Well, yeah, a snow could be one. But let's look at it from the standpoint of tools, stuff that we can pack. So, what about this? A lighter. Is a lighter a form or a tool that would create a type of shelter? Because again, what's the principle of shelter? Is to keep you warm when it's cold or cool when it's hot. A lighter, a fire. I should have and fire up there. But a fire is also a type of shelter because it equalizes your body temperature and you can maintain homeostasis that way. How about water? What are some tools that you could pack that would help you with this thing of not running out of water? A filter. Very good.
Use your lighter.
And do what with it?
Melt your snow.
Boil your water.
Handful of snow, lighter. Tell me more, because I'm going to burn my fingers.
Yes, you would have to have something else.
Okay, very good. So you see what I'm kind of being funny with you, but you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right. You just can't like melt snow over a lighter. You've got to have something else. What's that something else going to be? Okay. What? Okay, fuel. Sometimes we pack our fuel. Sometimes we don't. But a filter, what else? What else could we use to make sure that we don't run out of potable water? Okay, water. Container. Okay, very good. What else?
Tin foil.
What are you going to do with tin foil?
You can actually, and I have done it takes forever, but you can take tin foil and crunch it up, and you could put it someplace where the sun shines on it, and at night, then it begins to cool, and you will get condensation.
Oh, interesting. How about,
You make bowls, and you can also use the stuff out.
Can you use your garbage bag for that also?
you can, how about a little container of bleach? A few drops of bleach. Iodine will work. That tends to be a little bit more old school. But yes, you can use iodine. You can still buy at the camping stores water tablets to purify water. So there's actually several things that you can do to take care of your water needs. There's many things you can do to take care of your shelter needs. How about food? What kind of tools or, okay, fishing hook. When it comes to, as I'm just looking at what I have in these packs, I tend to just pack dense, high-calorie food. Okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, dense, high-calorie foods. Dried, freeze-dried, but also foods is that's kind of a class in of itself. Learning about natural and wild edibles, we'll cover that a different time. Next thing I have on my list that adds to this are what I call supporting tools. They don't necessarily fit into these categories here, but one of them might be first aid, maps, knife, flashlights, what? Okay, some sort of weaponry. What about this? Little bit of cash. It's not crazy to have a little bit of cash in your pack. And I wrote down. How about this? Some duct tape.
Oh, yeah.
You can do anything with duct tape, can't you? So just some different ideas. So as we start looking at some of our packs, you all pretty much have a handout, right? Everybody has one of these? Page 1, don't necessarily want to go over all of page 1. Okay, I think everybody does. Just going down through that first section on page 1, looking at your work or your school. If you're at work or school, chances are you're there because you drove. So we are going to be talking a little bit about what you can pack in your vehicle as kind of its own entity by itself. So you should have your vehicle packed with some sort of kit or list of ingredients that will just always be in your vehicle. Okay, so this brings up something that I've kind of debated. I don't necessarily like spreading to the world, oh, I do this or I do that, but I can get 2 bags of groceries underneath the seats of my car. That's a lot of food. 2 bags of groceries, that'll last you a while, right? Look at your car, see where you can poke things. There's little nooks and crannies. When we start talking about your vehicle, one thing I do want to mention is always put bottled water where you can reach it from the driver's seat. So first and foremost, like underneath the driver's seat, always have water accessible. And again, we'll talk more about that, but being at work or being at school predicates you got there by a vehicle. Okay, so that vehicle is going to be packed with something that's going to help you. But what else is it in your own personal work environment or school environment that are peculiar threats or hazards to your specific location? Think about those as you're at work, as you're at school. You know, what are some of the issues that can come up in your own specific place? Kind of take a personal inventory of these issues when you're at work or at school. Develop extensive curiosity. Always ask questions, because when you ask yourself questions, why does this happen? Why do we do that? You broaden your horizon. You start broadening your what's the word? Situational awareness. What's happening around you? Learn how to improvise. One of the methods of improvisation that I ran into one time is, okay, I told you I could put 2 bags of groceries under the seat of my car. And I did that, but I didn't have a can opener. And I had a bunch of cans. So what am I going to do? Well, I could risk cutting my fingers off by using my hunting knife and poking the lid. How many of you have done that in a pinch? So one of the most fun ways, and we did this last class, but we ran out of time doing this. A can on smooth cement. Turn the can over and just start rubbing it on smooth cement like this. And it'll take about 60 seconds and you'll start seeing a wet smudge. And just keep going. It only takes a couple of minutes of just basically sanding the edge off around that can's lid, and you can just pull it right off. Try it sometime. It really helps to have real nice and smooth concrete. Just take can and just go around and around and around, and it just takes a couple of minutes, and you can open it without a can opener. That's what I mean by cultivating curiosity and learning how to improvise. So So there's a little more there that you can go over later. Another thing that I'd like to think about is without having a backpack or without having a pack, ask yourself, what could I carry that would be helpful to me without necessarily having a big old one of these, even a small one? Well, I could have a knife in my pocket. That doesn't really take up any room, does it? Nobody's ever weighed down by having a pocket knife, right? Or how about a lighter? Having a lighter in your pocket or in the glove box of your car even. That takes up almost no space, right? But yet it's a tool that you can have. I have a pair of boots that I keep in my truck, and I took one of these little, what are they, flint and steel fire starters. Well, I took it off the cord and I put my boot lace through, so I've got this little magnesium fire starter actually tied into the boot laces. So wherever my boots are, I've got that that lighter in there. And the little striker that came with it, I keep it taped underneath the insole of my boot. So wherever I have my boot, I've got this little thing on there. Do you think it takes up any weight at all? No, you don't know it's there. There's all kinds of things that you can do, little itty bitty tiny things, like putting stuff on your boots. I also, for a time, had taped to the underneath of my sole a coil of fishing wire, or fishing line, and then between, let me see if I can do this. These shoes aren't normal, but this spot right underneath here, underneath where the shoelace flap goes over, I had a little wrap of a set of hooks. Now, I'm not a fisherman, but it was one of those things to demonstrate how improvision can open up your mind to find these little cracks and crevices on your being to just put stuff. A little tiny knife blade, a little this, a little that. And it's always there. You don't have to think about it until you need it. It's like, oh yeah, I've got this, I've got that. Some considerations for home. If you look on the back of page 1, so page 2, want to look at some actual considerations for these packs that I have. Now I've got obviously a lot of different kinds of packs here arranged, as you can see, from small to large. When it comes to backpacks, some of them, mostly nowadays, have an internal frame. So when you turn it around, you can't see it. Like kind of the old school had the big frame on the outside. Matter of fact, this pack here has an external frame. You don't see too many external frame packs these days. Most of them are put inside. This pack here, I can feel it. It's got probably an aluminum bar or tube that comes around here, down, and it just dead ends down here. And that's all the frame that it has. This pack here did not have a frame. All it had was a very heavy, like about 1/8 of an inch thick, oval sheet of heavy plastic. That's all it had as a frame. So most frames these days are internal. On this one, I think I wound up taking it out and replacing it with another piece of plastic, one of these. Now, how many of you know what this is?
That's for starting fires with
If you poke around at like old secondhand stores and you find one of these old overhead projectors for like really cheap, buy it. Right underneath the glass is this. It's called a Fresnel Lens. It takes about 20 seconds to light 2x4s on fire with flames in full sun with this. This is a marvelous piece of plastic. I mean, you can make fire just in seconds with this thing here. Well, you see the magnification? This is a lot of fun to play with. Yeah.
Isn't it true that you set one of your sons on fire?
Well, so if you think this is good, this is a lot of fun because I've actually got two of them. I keep one in here, and I keep one in my truck. There. Now, does that take up any room? No, it doesn't at all. Okay. I do have. There it is. That's my truck one right there. So you can do even better than that, but you can't pack it around because it's so gigantic. The old rear projection TVs that were about this tall and like this big, and they were these big bulky things. They don't really make them anymore, but they would project up from behind. Well, that screen on that TV is one gigantic Fresnel lens, and that's what this is.
Can you cut those down? If you know what you're doing.
You can.
Can you score enough to do it?
You can, but it's got a focal point. You need to maintain. If you cut it down, you need to go in both directions.
You need to go from center out equally.
Yeah. So, Nathan, thank you. I had one of these big lenses that I'd gotten from a nephew. I had it sitting, he had just given it to me, setting it right there. I had my arm on it and I was talking to him. My son Jesse walks up and he stands about 2 feet away, and it just so happened to be a sunny day, and he walked right into the focal point and it hit his leg right there. And he had these black slacks on, and just in an absolute instant, it melted a hole about this big through his pants and started going for his leg. And believe me, he jumped really fast. So with this thing, this is fun. So,
But isn't he right? It could be a signal too. A signal light.
well, this doesn't reflect, not like a mirror. So it's not necessarily a reflective type thing. You'd need a mirror. You could coat this with like a little bit of aluminum foil, and then use it like a mirror. But this is going to take light. Light is going to go through it and concentrate down here. I think the focal point is like right about there, and a lot of fun. You can make big fire. But I'm getting off topic here.
So what's that called?
This is called a Fresnel lens. I don't know that you can just, you can. You can buy little ones like this, credit card lenses. Have you seen them? Years ago, my bank was giving them out, and I had a couple of them in my wallet. They're just little, exactly the same thing, a little Fresnel magnifying glass, paper thin like a credit card. Keep one of those in your purse or wallet. You've got a fire starter. Yeah, that's what it is. It's for reading. Just magnifier glass. But coming back to backpack types. School backpacks, stuff like this. Your regular camping packs, something like this is more of a camping backpack that you would see. Most of them, of the larger camping type packs, again, they have internal frames now. Some of them have external. For the most part, the internal, I think, is better. These smaller packs don't have any sort of frame. And then there are some packs that tend to be more tactically oriented. They've got all these little straps so you can add other equipment onto them.
Describe the advantage of an internal.
So, for one thing, it's usually a lot less weight. And it's hidden, it's out of the way. You don't have to fuss around this frame, yeah.
Well, an internal frame wouldn't be as much to catch on something either, because an external frame, I've got a
Yeah.
pack that I've had for, oh my goodness, probably 40 years and never used it.
Yeah.
But it's an external frame, and it's like the legs on your chair. It's external.
Yeah, like this one. I mean, yeah, different style.
Back bracing and everything else, but it's similar to that.
Yeah.
One of the best reasons to have a frame, internal or external frame, is it maintains the structure and shape of the pack. It's like if you have hard objects like a water bottle or something inside the pack, it's going to keep that.
A larger pack like this, if it doesn't have any sort of framing to it, it's just going to be like a gigantic slug. Now, it might fit to your back, but it's not going to hold its shape as well. It would be somewhat similar if you notice a duffel bag. Well, you can pack this because it does have shoulder straps, but what's the disadvantage or maybe advantages of a duffel bag? I can get a lot of stuff in here, right? They're awkward.
They don't distribute the weight.
Right. There's no framing in it, so it's just, again, a great big blob of whatever it is.
All the weight is on your shoulder.
All the weight is on your shoulders. There's no hip belt on it. Okay, so what are some advantages of a duffel bag? You can get a lot of stuff in here. So another disadvantage of a duffel bag is, what about the stuff at the very bottom? There's only one way in and one way out. What we have packed in this is sleeping material. There's probably two things in this, 2 big blankets. So I don't need to rummage clear down to the bottom to get a lighter or some little things. It has its use, but we're going to keep it light and just have some bedding material in it. What about a duffel bag? Are there some pros and cons to like a just duffel bag? For instance, as a car bag, see what I'm saying? You're not going to pack this like you would a camping pack, but it does have advantages in that it's easy to have in the trunk of your car. It's got little compartments to put various things in. So it does have some advantages. Another thing I want to look at is the normal pack that you would consider as a go bag or maybe a bug out bag, that's what some people call it, is make sure that when you load this thing down, it doesn't weigh more than you. For instance, do I have a volunteer? Can I get a volunteer? Not you. Yeah? Let's start with this.
Okay.
Put that on.
Okay. Take my coat off.
So what we want to shoot for as far as the final weight for a pack, 25 to 30% of your body weight. That's average. If you're in really good shape, you could go a little bit more, but not too much more. The more you add, the less travel time that you're going to have. So how far do you think you could go with that?
You know, this isn't bad. This is probably about, what is this, 50 pounds?
That?
Yeah,
20 at the most.
20, yeah.
That is a very, very light pack.
Yeah.
Okay, so take that off.
This isn't bad. You could probably go for several hours. with
You
that
could go a long ways with that.
Yeah.
How about this one?
That looks good.
So undo the buckle. Yeah. They're cinched up pretty tight.
This weighs a little over twice what that does.
Close. It's a little over 30.
Really?
Yeah.
But its weight distribution is totally.
It's totally different. It's
that makes
it's a
big
different shape.
Feel it right down in here.
Okay. So now look at this pack. What do you notice about this one? It's very short this way, and you notice how far it sticks out this way. What's that gonna do?
That may make you want to bend over forward a lot.
Right. So
Because we'll just throw this on without this.
yeah, don't worry about the bottom belt.
Now that actually isn't bad. It's better than this one,
Okay.
but it still puts some more weight in the low of my back. Okay, which can be a disadvantage. Now, if you're bent like this,
Feels a little bit better.
that's about, so in other words,
Yeah.
if we're going uphill a lot,
It would be okay.
this would be okay because you'd be bent into it. If I were going up to the tank at the spring or something, as you know where that's at,
Yeah.
that would be okay, but
So
on flat ground, no.
you see what the different packs are doing to him. They're altering his. Okay.
Totally all.
So think about it. Now let's go to this one.
This ought to be fun. Yeah, notice you didn't just take it off the table.
Yeah, I'll let you pick it up.
We're really gonna have to go somewhere with this thing.
I'm never going to pack this anywhere.
Yeah, see, your center of gravity is right about here where it's balanced.
Yeah.
I think that would be really hard on his spine
It would.
You're right.
and his physical.
This-
When we first put that on, you could see him go back a little bit.
This pack is designed as, go ahead, as a, it's a marine patrol pack. So, they're going to put 100 pounds in that easy. That one, what is it?
That used to be my backpack. I used to carry that everywhere.
This is probably,
Almost 10 years I carried that.
this is probably about 50 or so pounds. It's way more than your average person would want to carry anywhere. So to me, this one is the most comfortable. I've spent a long time with this on. It was my search and rescue pack when I was doing Cowlitz search and rescue for quite a few years. But try lots of packs on. As far as size goes, again, something about the size, less than, okay, how do you say this? The size isn't as important as the weight that you carry. 25 to 30% of your body weight on average. If you're less fit, it should be more like 20 to 25% of your body weight. If the better shape you're in, you can add some to that, but not too much more.
The other question I would add to that is placement of weight
With inside of it. So you're going to put your heaviest things at the bottom, lighter stuff at the top, so that weight, and then plus having a good waist belt as well.
I find that in my backpack, which is approximately the size of the red one, is I found a small box that fits on the bottom, so
Really?
it's nice and flat.
Oh,
What
nice.
I did not like about mine is because it kept flopping one way or the other, and I got angry at it, so I went ahead and got a box.
So it doesn't sit like this.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Put that in, and then, you're right, put the heaviest things on the bottom, and then work it up and try to be as symmetrical as possible.
And that makes me think, I wonder if you waxed that box.
I'm sorry?
If you waxed that box and made it somewhat remotely waterproof. I don't know. I get funny ideas. The reason I say that is because which
Does she have it in a box just to have it set up?
the box is inside of your pack, right?
Pardon?
You're putting the box inside of the bottom of your pack.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually inside. This fabric isn't waxed, but it kind of has a waxed feel to it. It's got kind of a rubberized coating on the inside. And that does bring up another point. A lot of times in my pack, I gotta watch the time. The stuff that you put in this lower compartment, put them in Ziploc bags, whatever it is. That way, because if you sit this down on the ground overnight, the water that you're exposed to is going to hit the bottom of this pack first. Yes?
Someone had told me where you could put everything into a garbage bag with a
You can do that. Most of these packs are, for instance, this pack is one big container. That's kind of a disadvantage, although what makes it okay for this pack is there's a side zipper here. So you can open up this and get into the bottom without having to go from the end. This pack is got a bottom compartment from here down. So a zipper there, so you can access that, and then this upper portion. And then also, the lid is kind of lunchbox size too, so there's things in the lid as well. And it's the same way with this pack, and this one. They all have bottom compartment, middle compartment, and then a lid that has, yeah.
One of the things with internal frame packs is on a hike that I did, a buddy of mine sprained his leg, and the internal frame pieces come out and make really good splints.
Okay, very good.
That's another good thing.
So you need to know how to take it apart.
There's usually a Velcro either on the outside or inside that you can take that framing out.
None of those hold the water glasses.
Okay, so what about water bladder packs? This one, no, it's not this one. This pack is designed for a water bladder in here. A lighter. So yeah, this one is designed to actually have a water bladder in it. I think one of the other packs are as well. So let's go on. What other features do we want to talk about? Let's go on. Page 3. Page 3 has some generic content of maybe what you would put in your go bag. And again, look at these items from 1 to 20 and notice where they fall on our rule of threes. You've got a whole bunch of shelter type stuff, some water type stuff, some food type stuff, and then you have these supporting tools. If you start noticing, most of your list on any of these packs are going to fit into tools for your shelter, water, food, and then supporting tools. Something I do want to say there on the on the right-hand side of page 3, shelter, rest, shelter, water, rest, sleep, and nutrition. Something to bear in mind is that water, rest, sleep, and nutrition. In the event of a disaster or a crisis, your most valuable asset is your mind. So first and foremost, you want to take care of your mind. So water, how much water? Roughly half your weight in ounces a day. And you want to bank that. And what do I mean by banking that? Is be doing that on a regular basis. When I first started search and rescue quite a few years ago here in Cowlitz County, I was noticing I would get called on a search. Your typical search call out was 9 to 10, 11 o'clock at night. You would go out, you'd spend most of the night hiking, looking for somebody. You might find them. The next day, I always had just a splitting headache. And what it was dehydration. So it's like, okay, when I'm out there, I got to drink lots of water. So when I was out on a search, I started drinking lots of water. I still had the headache the next day. Why would that be? Dehydrated to start with. So number one, stay hydrated right now. Get hydrated and make it a habitual thing. So you're always hydrated. That way, when you need to tax your system, you're at your optimum levels already to start with. Does that make sense? So what I started doing is like, okay, I've got to get my water. As soon as I would get the call out, I would start just taking in extra water. And after I started doing that, I stopped having the headaches. So it's very important. Stay hydrated. Bank that water. Get it in and just let it saturate you. The same thing applies to rest or sleep. How many of you are night owls? Okay. You can get away with that. There may come a time when you need to really tax your system. And whether you're night owl or early to bed, early to rise sort of thing, you've got to have that sleep. And your body not going through sleep deprivation on a continuous long-term basis. Some people can do well on 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep, but something is happening to you. In the long run, you're going to start seeing effects played out from that sleep deprivation.
I ended up totally semi.
Yeah.
Because of sleep deprivation, driving down the road thinking I was fine when my brain was not functioning properly.
I fell asleep at the wheel out by Union Gap, just out of Yakima. I'm awake.
But you're not.
Sleep is the weirdest thing because you can be sleeping but still thinking you're awake. I don't know, have any of you fallen asleep at the wheel? You're awake, but then you open your eyes and you're off the road. And it's like, what happened? It's a very strange thing. My son rolled his car and made it look like a wadded up piece of aluminum foil. Yeah, it pretty much was. But people die from this all the time. Yes?
When my husband was going to college, I lost one night of sleep per week, and I was also working and taking care of kids. And so on Friday, I would take them to McDonald's. Way back when, it was only 25 cents for a hamburger. And then we played a game of one person would ride what we call shotgun.
Uh-huh.
And that person had to keep mommy awake.
Very good.
And that was usually the oldest person, the kid. And then we would take turns, and one of them, when it was his turn, would say, go straight, turn right, turn left, turn around. That was our game. Yeah. Because I knew I could not fall asleep. And the last time was I was going down the road. I did not go down. I didn't go off, but I found that when I finally woke up with my eyes open, I stayed on the road, thank you, Lord. Yeah. And I realized, why am I here when I should have been back there? And that was it. I never did it again.
Spooky, isn't it?
We were very blessed. So there's a lot to that, what you're saying.
So bear in mind, bank that sleep. If you have a tendency to be chronically, what's the word? Sleep deprived. Do what you can and arrange your schedule to get more sleep, because someday you're going to want to draw from that bank account. You're going to want something in there.
Yeah, especially when you don't know that disasters going to happen, and then you won't be able to sleep.
Yeah.
You have to take that extra.
And the last thing there, the nutrition. if the mind is the most important asset you have, pay attention to what are the nutritional requirements of your brain. Can you give me some? What? Carbohydrates? Because your body burns glucose molecules, right? Your B vitamins. Vitamin D's, omega-3s, omega-6, tryptophan, B vitamins, I already mentioned that. Folic acid, iron, choline, betaine. So,
I always have to take potassium.
so start doing some homework. Find the foods that you like that have these brain chemicals in them that are good for your brain to optimize your brain health. If you're going to be really deficient, for instance, in tryptophan, is that going to affect your ability to think and to reason and to rationalize? You know, it very well could if you're really low on your B vitamins or your D vitamins. So pay attention to your nutrition. These are all things that you're going to need in a situation where your mind is going to be taxed and you need your mind to work well. Page 4. We don't have time or space to go through all of these packs, so I'm sending you home with a list of pretty much what most of these packs have in them. So I should rephrase that, not most of these packs. So this pack here, this is that first one, large, what does it say? Large patrol pack. This thing, yeah, I'm not going to carry this anywhere. It's too heavy. But I'm just going to lug it out to the car and throw it in the trunk. This is basically long-term camping. That's what this has in it, just long-term camping stuff. The next one, my Go Everywhere bag, is this bag here. Close this lid here. We will go through this one, I guess. But this one goes everywhere with me all the time. Always, always. My search and rescue pack, did I mention that? Search and rescue pack is really kind of a specialized thing. It's top on the back of the page. But that's not something you guys really need. I'll have maybe Scott talk about his a little bit. Some of these, okay, so content of small bug out bag, that would be this one. We bought 4 of these packs, one for me, one for my wife, and one for my 2 kids. Jesse and Daniel, our 2 boys, and I were, so when they were little, we would do hide and seek out in the woods in full dress camouflage and face paint, and it was just something fun for us to do, right? Say yes. Okay. Well, you know, when your kids are this big, sometimes after a few hours they get a little bit tired of this, and so they're like out in the woods looking for me, and they're like, "Dad, we don't want to play anymore." And it's like, oh, how do I get them to, like, when you're in the woods, you got to be quiet. So we decided one day we're going to up the ante. So what we did was we got our full dress camo and face paint, and we went to the visitor center at Silver Lake. And I told them, now, there's people up there on the trails, and they're going to think you're a freak if they see you. They're going to call the police. So we have got to not be seen. So we went at the parking lot, we parked, we jumped out, and we just waited. Okay, nobody's around. So we blitzed down the trail, then off into the bush. And then we a little bit further, and it was really good. There were people out there. We got out to the, what is it? The boardwalk. You've all kind of been there, haven't you? The boardwalk that goes out to that kind of dike out. And so we got to the boardwalk, then we laid down and we rolled underneath and dropped down into the swamp underneath the boardwalk. This was really fun. Because you just felt like an alligator just going through the swamp, and people would be like right above us. It is, totally. So we spent the whole day out on the floating islands of Silver Lake. By the time we came in, we were so dehydrated because when you're out on the water all day long, you got the sun shining, even though we were in water all day, we were really dehydrated. Man, it was, for me, being older, I was a little bit dizzy. We hadn't eaten really anything that day, had we? So that's what we decided, you know what, we're going to have some little tiny day packs to carry with us when we do stuff like that. So that's where we bought these little packs. And so this is kind of just a day pack when we go out hiking for a day. We'll take this one. So this one is the small bug out bag. Yes?
But if you got stuck out there somewhere, it has something of everything.
It does, yeah. If you look at the list, it's got just a little bit of everything. So this is really kind of a small version of this. It's just a baby. So, so that kind of gives you a little bit of that. So,
Have you ever been up in the mountains and it's cold and got dehydrated because all of your water froze?
I haven't had a frozen water situation, but I have been, and that's my one problem, is remembering to drink water. I mean, we've all got a particular thing that we just have a hard time with. For me, it's always been the water. When I was a mid-teenager, and my mom and I, we went camping up at the Hoh Valley rainforest up on the Olympic Peninsula. Well, there were all these signs around about not drinking the water because there's giardia in the water, which is a little protozoan that makes you really, really bad sick. And my mom is looking at all these signs and she's like, promise me that you're not going to drink the water. Well, why did she say that? Because around here, my entire growing up, I always drank the water. On these hills, I grew up out in those hills, so I drink the water everywhere. As long as the dirt is settled in the mud puddle, it's fine. Just skim off the water off the top. And I'm like, okay, I promised. So the one day the weather was nice, I decided to go up the Hoh Valley Rainforest Trail. I had a 2-liter bottle of water. I hiked 15 miles up to where the trail started leaving the valley, and that's about 15 miles. And then I turned around and walked 15 miles back that day on 2 liters of water. That was about a third of what I should have been consuming. By the time I got back to the trailhead, I was seeing hallucinations. They were little elves about this big, and they would dodge around the trail when I came around the corner. And it's, your legs feel like spaghetti. It wasn't a good feeling, and that taught me a lesson, is that affects this thing, and you don't get this back. So just really take care of your mind. So hence the water pack. There was one other, the bottom one, content of 3-day pack. That is actually this pack, which I have redone. This used to have just all food type stuff. So a 3-day pack, it's a nice little one, and I've seen a lot of people around town with these. And this kind of comes back to, let's kind of stand back and look at the forest here. I've always got this pack with me. Always, always. If I'm at home and I've got 10 minutes to get out of town, this is already in the vehicle. All I have to do is grab one of these things. Or if I've got 2 minutes more, I could grab 3 more. You see what I'm saying? So this is blanket type stuff. This is bedding. This normally is just solid, high-density food type stuff. Now, do you need to do this? No, this is crazy. But for those who like this kind of stuff, it's fun. Bleh. Okay, so where are you seeing that?
Very bottom, found in a 3-day pack.
Okay, so what am I saying? Page. Excuse me. Where did? Yeah. Okay, so what it is it's nothing specific, and what I mean by that Martian mush is sometimes we eat like this over here at home every day, but we pack our backpack with this weird stuff we get at the camping store. Now, it might be good, but sometimes we buy stuff that we really wouldn't ever eat for real. Now, again, that's going to tax you when you're eating something that's been dried up for 10 years or just weird stuff. And I don't know how to explain it other than it's just from Mars. You know, I ask people that. You look at what the grocery store has, and then you go to a camping store and look what they have. Now, it's a lot better these days with the freeze-dried foods, and it's all prepackaged, and it's nice. But there's still stuff that you would never normally eat.
Well, you could rehydrate with just a regular dryer, a lot of stuff like beans,
Yes.
rice, and stuff like that.
Yes, you can. But just don't get weird about it, because you want food that you're familiar with, you know what to do with it. If it was in your shelves at home, would you eat it? And the reason I ask that is there's stuff that you have in your shelves right now at home that you're really, honestly, never going to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know why I bought this.
So what I hear you saying is make sure that you have real value packed
Yes.
in your food in particular.
Yes.
What you're saying is you want food that you know you will use, that you're used to, that you would eat.
Key. You're used to, you know what to do with it, you know how to fix it. It's stuff that you're used to eating.
Not only that, is you have these things as an emergency, and if you're ready all the time, you need to trade out. That means you need to eat that junk once in a while to get
It is, and it's totally true, because
You might as well have something that you like to eat, otherwise you're just going to toss it.
so classic example. In this little pack, I've got, don't look, Joyce. No. I've got this whole bag full of kind of all different assorted granola bars. Granola type bars. I'm going to probably take a wild guess and say 2016 is probably the expiration date on some of these. Now, is it still good? Yes, because expiration dates serve two purposes. What? Two purposes?
The store to sell them.
The store to sell them, and they just want to know how old it is. Expiration dates, a lot of food doesn't really have an expiration date. Some of it does. But you'll notice it'll start tasting stale, or with stuff like this, the oils will go rancid. And as soon as you open the package, you'll get it. It's like, no, that's rancid. This isn't real food, but it's high calorie food, and it's got the fats, it's got the sugars in it. That kind of goes a little bit, but okay, let me come back to my point is, once a year I get into these packs and I either eat it or feed it. Never mind. Yeah, me and somebody else eats it. Bob.
Yeah, one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're talking about having the kind of food that you would like, that you would normally be expecting,
Yeah.
But it needs to be the same food that your body
Yes.
is used to. Because if it's not, it may be good food and all that, but you're out where you've got to eat all this different stuff, your body's going to start churning, it's going to get upset.
Yes.
End up with diarrhea, because your
Yeah.
body can't accept it, because you don't normally eat that
Yes.
kind of food.
And that's a good point. Yeah, it's food that you're familiar with, food that you normally eat. But it's got to be, you know, you've got to be able to either dry it or freeze dry it or whatever, so you're not packing around jars of canned food.
That's what I did.
But it does bring up a point. You can either make sure that you have just what you normally eat, or I turn that around in my way of thinking, and I make sure that I bless my system every once in a while with some of these unusual things to keep my biota tolerant. If your dietary selection is very narrow and you step out of that, yeah, you're going to have gastric troubles. But if you broaden that up a bit, if you can, I think there's something to it. To this day, I still make a point when I'm out hiking in the woods, I drink the water. I've never gotten sick from it. I've had friends, I've been out camping with friends, a good friend of mine, we went out camping way out in the woods. He got giardia, and we were both drinking out of the same creek. He got it really bad. Technically, you can't get immune to a protozoan, but I don't know. You know, the people in Africa, they drink the water. They don't get as sick as you and I would do if we went over there and drank that.
Do you use any water treatment pills or anything?
Me?
Recommend them?
I do. Probably the next class that we do, when is it, by the way? May 20. Our next class, May 20, I think it is, alternative water, fire, and cooking methods. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different methods of purifying water, a bunch of different methods of cooking that are a little bit unusual, and that kind of thing. So we'll cover that. Yeah. Joyce.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe you could help cover something we could eat while we're out.
Wild edibles. We want to do that in the spring when stuff starts growing. Talk a little bit about wild edibles. We'll probably, it's tough to do in an evening class, so maybe a Sunday afternoon or something like that, if that works for everybody. You know, so we can get out in the daytime.
So Rob?
Yes.
Instead of getting like salad bars, what if you had like dried fruit?
Yes. That would be better. This is kind of a cheap option. Yeah. No, it's not. Yes, you can. And that would be the better option, is to make your own and have something a little better quality.
Put them in these
Mylar bags. Okay, so just really quick, what time? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I want to go over a couple of bags. We already talked about these. I do have this pack. This is the smallest pack, and I got it probably about a year ago, just because it was it wanted to come home with me. I found it at Bob's, and it's like, this is too cool. It has a little bit less than this one does. And I guess I've been using, and this is what's called the Sling Bag. It has a single strap, and see if we can do this without knocking. So it just slings over one shoulder like that, and you can do it either way, this shoulder or this shoulder. So I do use this on occasion, but basically all I have in here, again, it's got a back container, that has some water, electrolyte type of things. I thought I had some bars in it, some of this kind of stuff, but the tools are gone. Anyway, we'll look at this back over here. Okay.
That's for the varmint?
For whatever. I'm not worried about varmints. I'm not really worried about anything outdoors, really. But, how many of you have fire extinguishers in your house? Do you have a fire extinguisher in your house?
Yes.
Do you know where it's at?
Yes, I have two.
Okay, where are they?
Three. One's in the art room.
Yeah.
One's in the bathroom where the washer and dryer are.
Very good.
One's in the dryer, and one in the kitchen.
How many of you know how to do CPR?
Pardon?
How many of you know how to do CPR? How about use AED? Administer O2. CPR. Why? Why do you learn that kind of stuff? To help save people. Do you ever really plan on using these skills? You hope not. That's why I got some of this stuff. Are you ever going to use it? Probably not, ever. Like CPR. How many of you have ever actually had to seriously use CPR? Really? Wow, that's a lot more than most. These things just don't happen very much. But when they do, out camping. How many of you have had a house fire? So you get what I'm saying. There are some tools and skills that we have and we learn, not because we're fearful or we ever plan on using these things, but we have them around just because they're tools. So to answer that question, yeah. So I do want to go through this though. I want to add to your list though, if I could. So this is my main pack, and I was going through it the other day, and I realized I've added to it. So what I've added to it, I have glasses here somewhere. Yes, please.
Bag, and you kind of envision like if there was something that you had to like dug out real quickly, you could just grab all these bags and keep things kind of organized.
Probably half of them I have to put on this table once a year. Kind of. I'm being a little bit facetious. Some of them,
You said that was in your car all the time.
this one is. This one is. I have way more than I really need. So probably some of it's might not get picked up in an emergency, but yes, kind of it is all in strategic areas so that if there was a wildfire, and we've thought this through where we live, if there was fire coming from downhill, we've got an escape route. If it's coming from downhill, we're going to have 5 minutes. 5 minutes is enough time to do what? Grab and go fast. You know what I'm saying? So if I have got a little bit more time, if the fire is behind us coming over the hill, I've got 15 minutes of time. So I would grab more of it. And the idea is just grab it and just go. And make sure you lock up on your way out. Because you don't want to leave a wide open home for crazy people to come by and think it's Christmas. Okay, so what I wanted to add, so I went through this pack the other day, the things that I added, an Oregon-Washington map. So a map that's got Oregon on one side, Washington on the other. I added that in here. I've got a roll of toilet paper. That makes life really nice. And also, if you put a roll of toilet paper, not necessarily in your bag, but in your car, which is a really good thing to do, put it in a Ziploc bag. Not only the damp thing, but mice will find it every time.
And they love it.
And they do. Because if you like poke a roll of toilet paper under your seat or something, you're going to find about this much of it in your glove box 3 weeks later. Yes.
Toilet paper roll, like a nice brand of like a Charmin toilet paper roll.
Mm-hmm.
When mice get to it, expands.
It does. It will fill a bathtub, it seems like. I mean,
3-gallon trash bag.
oh, it's unbelievable. But it's really, really handy to have a roll of toilet paper wrapped up in a Ziploc bag tucked under the seat. Okay, what else? I have a little mirror, just a little reflective mirror. I've got a multi-tool. This next thing you might not have seen. I got road flares. What are these good for? These are the most awesome fire starters in the entire world. It's like a match that burns for 15 minutes at almost 2,000 degrees. You cannot put these out, even though you stick them down underwater. These will start fires anywhere, anytime, no matter how wet it is. And they're bright. You could signal somebody 5 miles away with these things. They're cheap. They're only a couple bucks a piece. So road flares.
I was going to say, what type, because some flares, are those self-starting end flares?
You strike the end. It's got like a match type head on them. Really handy tools to have, yes.
Marine flares also are super good because they're waterproof and or water resistant, and also a lot of them are pull string or pull tab.
Oh, okay.
So a little bit easier to ignite.
Probably a couple bucks more expensive, maybe. Maybe not. These are $1.97.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive.
Where do you get those?
An auto store. I think I got these at Cost Less down in Kelso. Just a couple bucks a piece. So, multi-tool, I already said that. Okay, so the next item that I found I added to this is a soft area map. This is the coolest thing. You can get these down at Bob's. Soft. It's made of fabric. And it's plastic coated. So it's not going to fall apart when it gets wet like a regular paper map. And you see, that's detailed. This is neat thing.
So you know whether you're going uphill or downhill.
You do. And if you want to pass that around, you can. So some Kleenex. I don't think that's on the list. What else? Okay, Right in the Rain. I've got those on the list. I do not have on the list, I don't think I have small twine. I've got that in here. I do have lighters on the list. And when I say I have lighters, I totally believe in redundancy. If I've got 3 ways to make fire, 4 ways to make fire, I've got gloves. I'm not sure if I have electrical tape on my list for my everyday carry pack. Electrical tape is really, really handy stuff. You can do so many things with electrical tape.
You can use it as a Band-Aid if you need to.
You can use it as a Band-Aid. You can use it as a tourniquet because it stretches and it shrinks. You can seal water bottles with it. It just has all kinds of uses, electrical tape. I have this listed, and I don't know if anybody has seen this. This is a reusable hand warmer. Now, if you look at it right now, you see can you see that that's liquid inside? You see that? There's a little disc in there, a little disc of metal. Now, when you pop that disc, watch. You see what's happening?
Turning hard.
It's turning hard. Now, just pass it around.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
I have big ones that
So-
I use for my bath.
It's warm. After, it takes hours and hours to cool down, but after it's cooled down, you stick it back in a pot of water, bring it up to a boil, and it liquefies again, and you can reuse it. So that's kind of a really handy tool.
What happens to the little metal thing?
It stays good. It's like a little disc that you just pop, and it initializes the crystallization process. GPS, I've already mentioned that.
Is that REI or somewhere, or where?
I don't know.
Probably find them on Amazon for free.
You could probably find,
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to have 2 of them. I think I got them for Christmas, so I don't know where they came from. They came from Santa Claus. Bandages, that's on the list already. I'm just looking for some things. Okay, this is kind of interesting to me anyway. These little packages of sesame seed snaps. And the reason it's interesting to me because being involved in search and rescue and survival type stuff, occasionally when I'm in the grocery store, I look at labels and I look at calorie content. These little sesame seed snaps, and all it is sesame seeds and honey. 200 calories in that little pack. And at Winco, it's 48 cents. That is cheap calories. And it's sesame seeds and honey. That's all it is. So what did I think I said on my list I have 5 of them? That's 1,000 calories right there in 5 packs, right? I don't know. It's just a little thing. Macadamia nuts, as far as natural, like nut type, high calorie food, macadamia nuts. Look up the calorie content of those. It's absolutely through the roof.
That's why they're so expensive.
Knife, bandage. Okay, so that's the top.
So the Swiss Army knife is in my drawer, I should put it in there.
You should put it where you're gonna use it. Yes. Okay, so are we good on time? How many of you are bored yet? No hands? Okay. So most of what I think I have in here is already on the list. So jacket, shell type jacket, that's on the list. Blessings from Costco. Toilet paper. Yeah.
Don't leave it round because
Right.
inside is
Just mash it.
useful so
Space.
that it might crush it.
Space blanket. These, what value are these? Camper?
They're a half and half. They'll keep you alive, but your wish you're dead.
They are so noisy. Trying to sleep with one of these around you,
What is that?
a space blanket.
They tear really easy.
They can tear easy, especially if they're old like this one. But they're just so noisy. They're crinkly. It does hold body heat in. But, you know, the theory is they're good for you.
There's new ones out that are actual like bivy sacks, so they're way better. I would definitely carry some of those just for
So a SAM splint, that's on the list already. A SAM splint. It's a, you can pass it around. It's a foam-clad piece of aluminum that you can shape to your body to splint it. So between that and these bandages, or yeah, some tape if you need it, you can immobilize a body part. Okay, I added this. This is kind of a travel pack that's not on the list. It's got shampoo, water tablets, dental floss, toothbrush, toothpaste, and lip balm, and a comb. So that's not on the list. You'd have to write that in. The metal cup. Most of my packs, I have a metal cup. What can you do with a metal cup? You can boil water in it. And why would you want to boil water? To kill the bugs. Right. So that's on the list already. This is another thing that I've added to the list. It's a solar charger. Kind of a battery pack. And you could charge a cell phone maybe 2 or 3 times with this, but it's also got the solar feature. So you could, in addition to that, something a little more majestic, I've added this to my pack. This is a really nice camping thing. So a solar panel and then a charger with 4 AA batteries. And this brings up another point. Rechargeable batteries. Everything that I have, except this. Okay, never mind. All of my battery-powered things all run off of AA battery. So I made sure, as I was collecting battery-powered whatever for this pack, everything runs off of only one kind of battery, a AA. And that's what my solar charger charges. If you've got a flashlight that runs on D, and a GPS that runs on AA, and something else, a headlamp that runs on AAA, you see what I'm saying? You're trying to organize and keep track of too many different kinds of batteries. So have everything run off of one kind of battery. Head net. This is really handy because when you're sleeping in the shelter that you made, put this on backwards at night and it keeps the mosquitoes off your face and it makes sleeping way nicer. It's a camouflage face net for hunting. But well, it looks, yeah, I can't, it's got this on it. But it looks ugly. But it hides your face, so it makes you not look so.
One of the other things that you can use at keeping mosquitoes away
Yes.
is to, 3 days before you're going to go on your journey, it's just,
Stop showering?
it's, no, you can either eat garlic.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You can take vitamin B1.
Oh,
Take it past 3 days. My brother is a mountain person.
really?
And he took us up to wherever, Horseshoe Lake, that's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed what he said, take the vitamin B1. And everybody else was just had fleas, not fleas.
Mosquitoes.
All over them. But I could put my arm out and it
Wow.
would be hovering. And I could go like that and it should be, icky.
Wow.
But it really works, but you can't take it very long because it also inhibits the absorption of other vitamins. and
Okay.
fleas.
This is already on the list, a Catadine water filter. So a water filter. This is a backpacking level, it'll pump a lot of water. This one is a Catadine, and I think it's already in the list. Katadyn.
What about a portable emergency radio crank with
I have one of those on the list for this pack, but it's not in there. I can't find it. So in the shuffle, I'm still looking for it, but it is on my list. I do have one. This is something else I threw in. It's a pack that it has what does it have? Alcohol wipes, garbage bag, reusable, not reusable. The pack is reusable. Kind of like baby wipe type things, washing, whatever. It's also got betadine solution and sunscreen, which I don't know, is there any good sunscreens out there that don't give you cancer? I think they're all kind of not good for you. So, food pack, and I think on the list it just says food stuff. Food stuff. This is the second one down, everyday carry food thing.
Shea butter and
This is probably third on the list, I don't know. Rain pants. Rain pants are really handy to have in this weather. Okay, so that's the top pack. I'm not going to pull it out, but it's on the list. There's a tarp in here, a folded up tarp, and it was hard to put in there, so I'm not going to pull it out. But it's probably an 8 by 10. So the bottom compartment. Okay, so I have a bottle of water in the bottom compartment. I also have I don't know if I can pull it out of here, but I've got a liter of water tied in a bag that sticks in the side. So I've got actually 1.5 liters of water. This is on the list. It's a really nice hammock. Actually, we made this. Nathan. Can I get a hand? Hammocks are fun. So the cool thing about this hammock is it's so easy to make. It's just ripstop nylon that you can get at ripstop.com. And it's actually 2 layers. So if you want the brown side out, you can do that or have the green side out. But on this edge, they're not sewed together, so it makes kind of like a big bag. So you can either sleep on top of it, like in there, or you can get between the layers and have this layer thrown over you and be a little bit more protected from the bugs, like that. If you lay diagonally on a hammock, you can lay nearly completely flat. Whereas, your typical mindset, you get in a hammock and you're like this, lay diagonal, and you can almost lay on your stomach completely flat on a hammock like this. And you see how big it is. And it weighs very little. I mean, the rope probably adds more to the weight of it than anything else. You can just lay it right there. But really easy to make, just stitching along the edges. And then the last couple of things, an extra set of clothes in a Ziploc bag. And again, it's on the bottom. I don't want it to get... I do have wool socks, wool gloves. I think I have 2 pair of wool socks and thermals. I don't think I have this on the list. So it's called 550 cord. It's also known as paracord. Is it? Is it? For my everyday carry?
It's in the large pack.
Okay, so the one we're going through now is the second one down. What is it? It's the Go Everywhere pack. That's the one that I've been going through. So I couldn't remember if it was on the list, but I've got 100 feet of paracord and 100 feet of some cordage that's a little bit smaller.
Can you explain why it's called 550 cord?
Because it's got a 550-pound capacity.
There are 5 50-pound test cords inside of that.
Oh, Yeah.
Made up of 5 strings that are 50 pounds each.
Okay. I've got them melted closed so you can't see it, but yeah, inside of this cordage there's actually 3 different kinds of cord inside of this. There's one really, really tiny one. You'll have to, yeah.
There's sheathing, essentially the color that you see, the green color that's sheathing, and then there's another internal sheathing inside of that, and then the 5 strands.
Yeah. So it's neat stuff. You can pull it apart into its individual strands. It will. In the old days, it was parachute cord. Very, very strong stuff to have. So that's basically the content of what I'm always carrying around. Where's my hat? It's in my truck. I think there's 2 of them.
What did you say that weighs?
This one weighs probably, what did we say? About 30 pounds. That's a quarter of my body weight. No, just a smidgen more than a quarter. So I'm within the range of, for me. No, but for me and my fitness level, I could carry that. For the most part, where I would need to go with it. How much time do we have?
10 for questions.
Okay.
I was just watching something the other day, and it made a lot of sense. We talked about CPR.
Mm-hmm.
If you come across a drowning victim, don't use CPR, you want to use the Heimlich maneuver. That extracts a lot faster.
Okay.
Water out of the lungs and stuff.
Otherwise, you're just mushing the water back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Interesting. That's a good point.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a pack, kind of like your 3-day pack.
Uh-huh.
They're in my car, all organized.
Awesome.
Lots of this stuff, but it's too heavy. And I don't even have my clothes in it. My clothes are under my seat in the car.
Uh-huh.
And my water is behind another seat.
Oh, awesome.
It's too heavy.
So your pack that's this side is too heavy for you. What is the thing that's the heaviest in it?
I don't know, that's kind of why I wanted to take the class on it.
You're okay for the first half hour.
So water is heavy.
I know, you drink a lot.
Huh. So do you what do you have in it that's different than kind of what you're seeing on these lists?
I obviously have more.
Well, you can only put so much in here.
This is that one way.
See, this probably feels like. Okay, let's compare. Yes.
What is the average that you would anticipate a person, I mean, when you talk about bug out, they generally talk about 72 hours.
Yeah, 3 days.
About the same.
Yeah.
So to add water to this, or is there water in here?
No, there's not water in here.
So see, mine's about that way.
Okay.
No water. And no
Yeah.
clothes. I figured if something happened,
Okay.
I would put the clothes on that I
Yeah,
had in
yeah.
the car.
Yeah, have the clothes in a different thing. At this point, if you're keeping it in your car, this is like a soft-shelled dresser, essentially, right? A trunk, a chest, just to hold stuff. You may not be putting this on your back and going a long ways, especially if your back can't handle it. But it's keeping your stuff together and it's organized. That's better than.
I was thinking, okay, depending on, where I'm at, I wouldn't put my back on this,
Yeah.
but I would take it out.
Yeah. Any other questions? So, At least something for your car. And we're kind of out of time, but the last page that you have there is car stuff. And that's kind of what I had here. Car safety. So I've got this kind of carry case, and that's got car stuff in it. For car maintenance, it's got some extra oil, brake fluid, steering fluid, it's got some flares, it's got jumper cables, and you've got the whole list on the last sheet. Ice scraper. So those are some considerations for a vehicle to take care of the vehicle. Whereas, like I said, I might have one of these, like this one, in my vehicle to take care of me. But I want to remember my vehicle too, because it does a lot for me, and I want to take care of it. Yeah. Okay, Nathan.
Yes. What some of you were asking about what we have. So I'll tell you real quick. We have contact information. Email, maybe get one of these things mailed out too, depending on how far you're out in the church. We will have a number of events coming up. Stress management series coming up. March 25th, three-part series, March 25th, April 1st, April 8th. That's hosted by our pastor, Isaiah Basso, who's an MP as well. Talks a lot about wellness. That'd be a very good series. Stress is a big deal. It goes back years off our life, as you all know. Garden class, once again, our own Rod Norris. That will be on April 11th. And that is a Sunday, so that'll be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Smoking cessation class, April 15th to 19th, 5 days in a row. That's 6:30 in the evening. I'll be hosting that one, so anybody who knows who needs to stop smoking, we'll have that available. Then April 29th, we have a really, really good speaker coming up April 29th. Her name is Dr. Joyce Chubb. I saw her. There she is, right there. Dr. Joyce Chubb. So she's going to be presenting April 29th. And what are you going to be talking about? Community made simple. So she posted it, so once again, April 29th, that'll be at 6:30. That's a Thursday evening. Disaster preparedness again, May 20th. That will be fire, water, and cooking.
Alternative fire, water. Thursday.
And then our last extreme initiative will be May 27th, and that's our cooking class, which is with Zinnia Gasoda. She is a trained vegan chef, so we'll enjoy seeing her first time. And so once again, we look forward to seeing you at these events, and look forward to that email, and also look forward to that one coming in the mail.
There is one thing on the last of your, and I don't know where the last sheet went here. So on the last pack, on the back side of your content, different bag content, the very last one at the back side is my nephew Scott's pack. In a nutshell, what has this done for you?
20 years of survival on the road.
So what he's got in his list, which is, again, this last one, is everything basically that he's got in here.
Is that the travelers?
Yes.
Emergency kit as a traveler.
I just called it the Traveler's Pack.
It's on the back.
So on the back.
On the back with 4.
So Scott has been camping for a while in easy to camp in places like warm places and,
Well,
okay, maybe not.
I've been in negative 52 degrees camping that camp before. That one. I spent 3 years on Donner's Pass and basically, what I would have to say is your main thing, if you're going to be outdoors, is a bedroll. Obviously, you want a sleeping bag, but a bedroll for the ground. I would have to say it's going to be the best thing, due to the fact that you use a lot of bottom.
Yeah.
Now, me, when I tend to get foam pads, I prefer foam pads over inflated pads just because of where I camp out. They always end up getting a hole in them. More fun after that. But remember, you don't have to have a full-size pad if you don't want. Basically, you need but you really want to keep your upper half. So definitely a pad. Water bottles. A metal container can be anything from storage, dry storage. I prefer this one as dry storage until I really need oil and water. But shelter, basically, I have maps. I have lots of knives. I love knives. I asked that question. I never answered that. But basically, your sleeping bag is your best friend outdoors. I have found that to be the absolute necessity. Without it, that little emergency blanket thing, ain't no fun. But
I guess the point is, you see how little this list is. And he's been doing it for 20 years.
I know exactly where things go, how they pack.
Yeah.
If you need to get out of your camp quickly, which, you know, it doesn't happen quite a bit, but if you need to bug out of your bug out camp, you're going to want to know how to pack your bag really quickly.
Yeah.
Once you're doing it,
What's your preferred shoes?
boots, I like boots a lot better, but, you know, one of the experiences my back is completely messed up. I mean, I've got major back problems from it. This pack actually is supposed to have this frame on it, but I don't do the frame on this one because now it's where the barbell is back. You cannot use the frame on this one or without the frame. This one you have to have the frame. Other than that, I mean, you really don't need a whole lot. When I first started out, it was like, but once you get going, kind of judge what you want in your own pack.
That brings up a point. When you put your pack together, go use it. Don't just leave it dead. Yeah. Do they see? Question? Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't either.
To me, it's just another thing in my opinion. I need to climb over the wall. Some cents today.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's close with a word of prayer. Lord, most holy Father, thank you once again for giving us another opportunity to get together and just share ideas. Lord, we just ask that we would have the care and concern for others around us that you have for each one of us, that we would be always prepared, always ready to help your children and to be a blessing to those around us. In Jesus' name, amen.